As I'm sure you're probably already aware, reading is one of, if not the best thing that you can do for your learning, okay? So I'm gonna show you the 3 books that you should read. It doesn't matter if you've already read them before or if you've never read a book in your life. These are the 3 books that you should read in order, okay? So make sure you read the first book first, second book second, and third book third. Not gonna waste any more of your time, let's get straight into it, okay? So the first one is a timeless classic. You probably already know of it. Most of you probably already read it before. It's Dale Carnegie's How to Influence and Influence People, okay? So this is the first book I ever read because I got into, reading because I got into self-improvement, and I did that through Hamza, right? And so Hamza obviously recommends this book a lot, and other books as well, like The Way of the Superior Man, but specifically this one, okay? So this is gonna teach like the fundamental, bare bones, basic principles that you need to know, like stuff like don't criticize, condemn, or complain, simple stuff like don't have arguments or just smile, like very simple, basic stuff, okay? And although it's basic, it's not just basic, it's fundamental, okay? So just because it's very simple doesn't mean it's not valuable, okay? So this stuff you should be using. So the best way you can read the book is you read a page, maybe you read something about smiling, right? You read a book, you read part of the book on smiling, and then you go outside, and then you use it, and you implement it as soon as possible, okay? And you should be doing that for every single part of the book. And you should be rereading this as well, okay? So this is like the simple, bare bones one, read it as soon as possible, okay? And then after you've done that, number 2 is Influence by Robert Cialdini, okay? So this is, once again, another amazing book. Very, very highly recommended, especially by Charlie Munger. Right here on the book, it says, this is the book that I give most often as a present, and is my top recommendation, by Charlie Munger. That's a quote from Charlie Munger. So if Charlie Munger likes it, you should probably read it, okay? So it's super important. It's going to teach like the principles and like really important stuff about cognitive biases and heuristics, okay? So if you haven't already, like for all these books, you don't need to get like the book. Like the best thing you could probably do is get a Kindle and read everything on a Kindle. You can read like a PDF online, or you can buy like the actual paper book. You do what you want, okay? So the core thing that this book talks about is reciprocation, liking, social proof, authority, scarcity, commitment, consistency, unity, and instant influence. So these are like core, really important psychological biases that you need to understand so you can use it, and also so that they don't get used on you, okay? So this book talks about being a compliance practitioner, and obviously that's really what sales is, right? We're using biases to make people do what we want them to do. So as you can see, this book has like, a little bit of wear and tear, and that's because I've read it a lot, and really going back and understanding these, not even just this book, but this one and the third book, all the books that you're ever going to read, it's really going to be important to reread, because if you just read it once, you're probably going to retain like 10% of the knowledge. I can read this book once, and then a month later, reread it, the words haven't changed, but it's like my whole kind of paradigm around it completely flips. Because I realized something, like on page 200, that there was something I didn't pick up before, and now it makes so much more sense to me, okay? So make sure you're rereading these, okay? And before we get into the third book, a really important point is read to what interests you. So if one day you're really interested in how to influence and influence people, read it. But if you're like 50 pages in and you're not interested, you can just put the book down. It's fine, right? Like when I first read this book, I was probably like halfway through and I wasn't really like enjoying it, but I just kept on reading it. You shouldn't actually be doing that. You should be reading what interests you. So if you have like 30 minutes to 1 hour per day where like you dedicated it to reading, if right now you're focusing on like women, go read a book on like relationships. If right now you really want to focus on health, go read a book on health. If right now you want to focus on money, go read a book on money. Read what interests you. Reading, you should kind of have it as like a fun, enjoyable task. Because reading, in terms of understanding first principles, is going to be the biggest needle mover. Like there's nothing more valuable than like a massive book like this, okay? So you should implement reading, and you should really have it as like a part of your lifestyle and your schedule. And so that means making it enjoyable. So don't just read a book to completion because you think you have to. Read what interests you, okay? The third book I don't actually have as a paperback, but it is Poor Charlie's Almanac, okay? And obviously that's by Charlie Munger. So what happened was Charlie Munger had some really good understandings of economy and psychology and how they work together. And then he read this book, Influence by Robert Cialdini, and it kind of blew his mind. And from that, he came up with this 25 cognitive biases, as well as like a wide variety of other things that he put all together in his book, which is Poor Charlie's Almanac, okay? So it's like, if you look up like the paperback, it's like a fat, massive book. I assume you already know, but if you don't, Charlie Munger is like the business partner of Warren Buffett, and together they created Berkshire Hathaway, which right now has like the biggest stock price in existence. Like it's like worth like 600k USD. So a very, very amazing book. I'll just recap. So How to Influence and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, Influence, Robert Cialdini, and Poor Charlie's Almanac by Charlie Munger. Okay, and there's one more that I'm gonna give a special mention to, because right now I don't know if the real physical book is available, but The Art of Focus by Dan Coe is an audiobook that you can find on his YouTube. It's like 50 minutes long. It's not like the whole book, but it's like the core principles from the book. That one video is crazy, and it gives you so many real fundamental truths that you need to know. Okay, so go right now and get all these 3 books and look at Dan Coe, The Art of Focus. Okay, I think the real like paperback book is coming soon, or maybe it's already out. I'm gonna get it as soon as it comes out, and you probably should too.